another episode of Safe Haven. I am joined tonight with Jen and Alan, and really this recording is about our trip to Parkersburg that Alan and I made about 2 weeks ago now. So we came back on this episode because we wanted to let you know what happened when we went to Parkersburg. So one of the things that we did was just kind of start at ground zero. And Doug actually picked me up from the airport. I was so honored that he picked me up. I don't know how he feels about it, but I was very happy he offered to pick me up from the airport. And that was just an amazing feeling to have such a great relationship with the investigative detective on the case who really values what we do to even say, well, I'll come pick you up.
He's awesome, dude.
So, definitely. That says a lot.
Yeah, he's awesome dude.
Yes, he really is. He really is. And so one funny thing I'll tell you real quick, there's always funny stories when I'm in Parkersburg. So I was texting him and I was like, oh, I'm here. And he's like, well, I'm here. I'm over here, this car. And I'm looking everywhere. And I'm like, I don't see you. He's like, I see you. And I'm like, where are you? And he's like, right in front of you. And I go, oh, what a detective I am, right? Like, it was so funny. Like, I could not find him. But anyway, so he picked me up, and on Thursday, I flew in on Thursday, and we got to work right away. We ended up going to some local stores to get some things that we needed. And then, of course, he drove me by the Pettys, and I was able to see Mr. and Mrs. Petty and all the Petty women and hug them all. And it was just so good to be back. And of course, getting the hugs and kisses from mom and, I call them mom and dad, but from Mr. and Mrs. Petty are so priceless and so good to see them. And then we waited. Alan, you drove in,
Yeah, I
right?
drove up from Arkansas, and I think we got there, about 5:30? Is that right? 5:30, something like that night.
No, it was like 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. It
night.
was. Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah,
I was starving.
That's right. It was late because we had GPS in our car. Took me down the scenic route, and we drove along the banks of the beautiful Ohio River instead of going up the interstate. And I'm not talking bad about I mean, it was really a pretty drive, but it took us forever to get there. But
yeah. And your brother came with you?
Yeah, my brother. He rode up there with me. He's he used to work as a firefighter too, but now he's a full-time gunsmith and has a little bit of sheriff's background too. He worked in the sheriff's office for a little while before he was a firefighter, and then. But he wanted to ride up with me, that way I didn't have to come up there by myself. And it was a really, really good drive, but we seen some country instead of coming up the interstate.
Did you tell your brother that on a future case that involves a shooting, he's going to be one of our experts?
No, I mean, but he's.
I think he needs to be aware of that.
Okay, I'll let him know.
We actually have another job for him as well. He's our assistant.
Yes.
Or Melissa's assistant.
Yeah, he may be finding all this stuff out like right now. So
probably so.
Well,
yeah.
No, I told
myself into.
We're not going to say anything until the podcast comes out, and then let him hear it all, and then
I love it.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's making me a hat too, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to send me a Safe Haven hat.
Yeah, he does that along with his gunsmith. He builds. I say gunsmith. He builds like custom guns and stuff that are. Really high-end guns. It's not just your average run-of-the-mill gunsmith. He does some of the most awesome work I've ever seen. And I'm not saying it because he's my brother, but he really, really does.
I bet he's got some great ballistics insight.
Oh, he does.
But anyways, that's a future case.
He does, yeah.
Yes. So he was great. So I was waiting for Alan to get in. He was supposed to be there around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I'm waiting for dinner. And finally it's 7 o'clock, 7:30. And Doug left me. Yeah, I said, oh, I'm fine. Alan's coming at 8:30 because Doug's dad actually had a birthday. So we said, no, go have dinner with your dad. I guess at Kraken Barrel.
Cracker Barrel.
Is that what it's called? Cracker Barrel?
Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel. So I said, oh, Doug, I'll be fine. Alan's coming in 10 o'clock.
Oh, my gosh.
Alan shows up, and then Doug calls me at 9:30, and I'm like, no one's here to feed me. I'm dying. And so we went out to eat, all of us. Again, Doug joined us. We went out to eat, we kind of game planned for the next day, which would have been Friday. And Friday we were at the prosecuting office again, which I just love that office. Those ladies in that office are so friendly. Everyone is so happy. We're like, we're back,
They're fantastic.
And they're so great to us. And we hung out there all day. We were conducting interviews. So we actually, again, sat in interviews with Doug, Alan, myself, his brother, and actually interviewed people who have never been interviewed regarding Mitch and Billy.
Yeah.
So if you've listened to our previous episode, you know that Mitch and Billy are persons of interest that we had gotten information on. And that is why we went back to Parkersburg to re-look at everything with a fresh set of eyes with these two new names, which required us to interview new people. So again, Doug had us be part of the process. We sat there, we asked questions, we were just part of the whole thing. And we walked away with some good information, some things that we were able to clear up, some things that we had questions on, some things that we didn't know before regarding Mitch and Billy, we learned about. So we did that on Friday. And then, Alan, we took you to go meet the Pettys. What was your impression of them?
Awesome family. It was Mr. Petty. Actually, I think me and him kind of hit it off pretty well. He's got a kind of the same sense of humor I do. And he reminded me a lot. I told my wife when I got home, he reminded me a lot of my father-in-law, and who was a great guy too. But it's just the way he acted and stuff. And it was just, and the sisters being there and get to meet all of them and Miss Petty. And it was just, you can tell that they are a really, really close family. And it was neat to see.
And Mr. Petty has the best hair. I just have to throw that in there. I love his hair.
Jen's fascinated by his hair and his black glasses.
I know.
He's hilarious.
He's such a character. He is hilarious. I know.
And
anyways,
when he starts talking about Judy, you could just tell that he was very sincere. I mean, he kind of got all of us whenever he started talking about her, and it was just it was something to see.
Yeah, and one of the things that is so important in working cold cases like this that we always talk about is actually going to meet the family and going back to the scene of the crime and actually putting yourself in that position, which is really hard to do emotionally, but it's what's needed. And so on Saturday, we actually went out to the property again so that Alan could actually take a look at the property and see how things looked, as good as they can back in 2008. The family continues to try to keep the property as maintained as they can. But of course, Mr. Petty's older, so the kids do help out. And this is the first time that we've ever tried to drive up the driveway.
I was going to ask if Alan got the pleasure of hiking it.
Yes. Even though we drove it, I did hike it.
We tried to drive it, and it was a crazy ride, I'll tell you that. So Mr. Petty gave me the key, which that's a really big deal. So his family couldn't believe he gave away the key, but he gave me the key, and then I gave it to Doug because if anything happens to it, Mr. Petty can go after Doug, not me. So we actually took Doug's car up there and got a flat tire on the way up because the terrain is so bad and the rocks, and it felt like you're on a ride for a little bit. Like Doug is steering and everyone's like, go left, go right. And all of a sudden we heard this big poof, and we're like, uh-oh.
That sucks.
And we weren't even halfway up yet. And the tire wasn't flat. And so Doug's like, oh, well, it's not flat. Well, we made it all the way up and then realized, oh, no, it's
pretty flat.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But Alan, you want to kind of talk about what your initial thoughts about the whole Petty property, the driveway, the cellar? You want to take listeners through from an arson perspective, what things stood out to you?
Yeah, and what's really cool about it is the family has kind of kept everything pretty much the way it was 15 years ago. Everything's still kind of laying where it was after they removed her remains. And it was really neat to get down in that cellar and actually see it, face to face instead of looking at it through pictures and everything. So I got to, get down in there and look for things that I had curiosities about, I guess you could say, that I couldn't see through the pictures. And and to actually move debris away of where her body was actually laying, and try to look at the concrete and try to look at, things there. And it was really, really neat. And it's a beautiful property. I mean, he's got an awesome farm up there, and it's just sad that it's marred like it is with the.
Right.
I remember you mentioning about seeing melted glass.
Yeah.
Can you explain the significance of that?
Yeah, when I was going through the debris and looking for stuff, I found a pile, and I had read and saw in the reports from way back, Mr. Petty describing to other investigators from the Wood County Sheriff's Office of what all was in the cellar and in the storage building above the cellar and everything. And I remember him talking about a bunch of mason jars. If anybody, if people are not familiar with a mason jar, it's what people use to can foods and stuff in over the years. But I was sifting through there, and I started finding the jar tops. And of course, me being a hillbilly myself and being from the backwoods myself, where we grew up at, my grandma had canned and stuff, and I immediately recognized those jar tops. And I got to looking through those piles, and it was strange to me that all of it was literally melted together. I got to pulling those pieces out and looking, and it had gotten so hot in the bottom of that cellar where those jars were, that those jars literally liquefied, and there was pieces of other things encapsulated inside the glass, where it had kind of wrapped itself around those things. And I couldn't remember off the top of my head what the temperatures were for that. So I went back that night after we got back to the hotel. I went and kind of pulled some stuff out of my database on my phone and some other places, and looked. And for glass to melt, it's got to reach a temperature around 24 to 2,600 degrees. And wow. That is, that's super hot.
Isn't that hotter than the temperature they use to cremate bodies? Yeah. The temperature that they cremate bodies at is around 1,400 degrees. So they have to, that's what I thought.
It's around 1,400. So it's almost doubled, to what it needed to be to cremate that body. But, and the thing about it is something you got to remember too, Jen, is at that 1,400 degrees, that's spread out over, a couple of 3 hours. And they have to they have to go in and kind of mix things up a little bit, and to get it to fully cremate down to the ashes, like that you receive as a family from the crematorium and the funeral home. But in Judy's case, she laid there for 2 or 3 days. Her body did, for 2 or 3 days in that temperature. Mm-hmm. And they didn't pull her body out till, what was it, Friday, Saturday? After the fire had occurred on Wednesday night. So, you're talking at one point in time, somewhere in that time frame, that it got up to 2,400 degrees, hot enough to melt those jars down to just pooled glass. And
incredible.
And there was other things in there too. Mr. Petty he liked to tinker with stuff, and there was he had motorcycle and Volkswagen parts in there, and one of the things that Doug and I got to looking at, there was it looked like spattered metal down in the bottom. That's the best way I can explain it. But what it was engine parts from a Volkswagen, and it was a magnesium alloy. And once that magnesium gets to burning, it gets really hot as well. And it reacts violently with water when you start putting water on those fires. And so, and I'm not, I told them that day, I don't want to sit back and, point fingers, being from the fire service myself, I especially don't want to point fingers at other fire departments. But, I just feel like if they would have went ahead and maybe put some water on that, back then, we might have got more of her body recovered, I guess you could say. And,
mm-hmm.
and again, I don't like to sit back and point fingers at people and say, well, this is your fault and that's your fault, and you did this wrong. I'm not doing that. I'm just, I wasn't there at the time of the fire, and I do know that there are situations where fire departments simply can't put water on something at a certain point in time. And I've been on train derailments before where we just had to let things burn itself out. But, and in their defense as well, they had no idea that her body was in there.
Right. Really. That's what I was just thinking. They didn't,
so.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found that is was so hard, and when we first saw the cellar, was to actually be where her body was found and to look around and say, how did this happen? How, who would have done this? And you can feel for Judy and her family. That's just a horrible way to.
I honestly got that feeling outside the cellar because, in my opinion, and all three of us have talked about this several times and at length before, but I feel like the actual murder itself happened outside the cellar, and then she was drugged down in there. So, just to look at where the house was and know that this is where this girl grew up at, and it was her family farm, and and to know that that's where her life ended at, it really kind of, it got to me in thinking, what can I do to find something here? And hopefully we're fixing to solve this thing.
Yeah. And I know that, Alan, you were kind of upset with yourself or just frustrated at feeling like you wish you could do more. Where does that come from, or what made you feel that way?
Not being there at the very first to do a thorough investigation on it. I just wish I could have got in on the front end of this instead of coming in 15 years later and do it through pictures and going through debris that's been laying there in the weather for 15 years. And you see Mr. Petty and you see the family and the sisters and Miss Petty. And I got a daughter, and I think that's where a lot of it come from, is my relationship between me and her. We're tight, real tight. And I just put myself in that situation. And, and that's what I've told people, whenever I first got involved with this with you guys, are like, it's amazing that you guys are doing it. And I'm like, well, the way I look at it is I think about, me and my daughter, if something like that happened to her, I would hope that there'd be people like us that would come in and say, hey,
yes,
I'm here to help you. That's where I'm at with it. Honestly, Melissa, we're coming in, and you guys know this as well as anybody, on a cold case. You're coming in years later, and it's the toughest thing to do is to solve a cold case. And I don't think people realize that. That's why we've got all of us together. I bring in the fire side of it, and Melissa, you bring in the the psychology part of it and the sociology part of it, and Jen, you bring in your background in investigation, and and then all the other folks that are working in with us in this team that it helps, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for Definitely.
Sure. If the case was easy to solve, it wouldn't be cold. So.
Right.
Cold cases are the hardest of the hardest.
Yeah. And then when you throw an arson in with it too, arson cases, people don't realize this, but it is super, super easy to prove something's arson. We can sit back and look at this and know for a fact that somebody set this place on fire. We know that, and then they come back and say, okay, well, who did it? That's where the kicker's at. And even even on like a fresh fire, it's easy to prove arson, but it's super hard to prove who did it.
Sure.
And that's where arson's at. That's where we're at with this. And that's why when you guys contacted me, I was like, you bet, I'll be glad to help. And here we are.
Here we are.
I know. It's been a journey.
So one of the things that a lot of listeners are looking forward to is this episode where we talk about the individuals who we went to go talk to regarding Mitch and Billy and to get their side of the story. So we're going to play a clip for you where we actually play our attempt to speak with Bob Wright. And Bob Wright is Mitchell Wright's dad, and he would be the brother-in-law to Billy Schreckengost.
And I'm going to give a little disclaimer that West Virginia is a one-party recording state, so you do not need permission from 2 or more people involved in a conversation to record that other person. And also, Doug was on site when you guys knocked on the door and talked to this guy and gave us full permission to release it on the podcast. So there's nothing illegal that's gone on here. And I would like to think maybe if it had been Bob's child that suffered this, he would have been a little more cooperative and understanding, but not going to judge. So we'll play it.
My name's Doug Stern. This is Melissa Sandberg.
Hi.
I'm Alan Haskins. Yes.
Hi.
We're looking to talk to you about, we're looking into Judith Petty, the killing of Judith Petty.
Well, let me tell you right now before you get anywhere, sir, I knew Judy when I was 16 years old. She was way younger than me because she was one of the younger ones. I knew her two sisters. I quit school when I was 15, and I couldn't tell you no more about her than the man in the moon.
Okay.
Now, I'm just being straight up honest with you. I wouldn't lie to you for nothing in the world.
Yeah.
I haven't seen none of them people, them kids, since I quit school back in the 60s.
And
Now, guys, I don't mean to be abrupt with you or nothing, but I don't have a thing to say about anybody out there. I lived out there. My ex lives out there. I got divorced, got my paperwork last Thursday. I'm partying. Have a good evening.
Is Kim the one who lives out there now?
Yes.
So you and Kim just divorced?
Yes.
Okay, and then about Billy. Billy lived out there?
Billy's dead.
Yes, I understand, but 2008.
Hey, guys, you go out there and talk to them. I got nothing more to say. Have a nice evening.
thank you, sir. That's what I figured with him.
So you've now listened to Bob's recording, and what jumps out at you, Jen?
Well, he was super defensive. I mean, right off the bat. And again, it's like, can you not put yourself in the shoes a little bit of this family and this victim that's have suffered so terribly? And I mean, he loosely knows them, so why wouldn't you want to help? And that always just really bothers me. Because the majority of people, and you guys know this, like in the cases we work, the majority of people, I mean 99% majority, you knock on their door and they're like, what can I do to help you? I mean, and some really go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And then to have someone give you a 30-second spiel that they've already, I guess, had prepared and have zero interest,
That was my thing.
in trying to help you
That was
guys.
my thing with him is it was almost he'd been sitting in there reading his script before we got there.
It seemed like
So,
it.
Right. One of the things that jumped out to me right away was, first of all, I'll set the scene. So Doug's knocks sound like you're in big trouble. I mean, he has like the cop or the drug enforcement knock,
Yep.
like the and I'm thinking, oh God, I would probably crap my pants if he knocked on my door. But you could hear Bob back there rumbling about something. So he shows up, opens the door. He's in shorts, no shirt, and the whole place smells like marijuana. I don't know if I got high just standing there in the doorway. But, he opens the door, and right out of his mouth, as you could hear, his first words were, "Let me tell you right away."
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, when we break down what he's saying, the fact that he wanted to tell us right away, he
Yep.
wanted to make sure that this is what I know, and I'm just going to tell you what I want to tell you. And the other part of what he said that really got to me was the quote when he said, "Straight up, I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't lie to you."
yeah.
Well, if you're going to say, well, straight up, I'm going to tell you this, but I'm not going to lie to you, you're lying.
Yeah. I was just fixing to say, if somebody says, I'm telling you the truth right now, well, probably they're not.
And it would have been a little more appropriate response, like if Doug had said, "Are you going to be honest with me?" But
Right.
nothing was asked of him. He wasn't challenged about being honest or lying or anything. He just like blurted that
Yeah.
out. And I'm like, okay, so then you probably are going to lie about something.
And that's the one of the things that really got to me is just right off the bat, like straight up, I'm going to be honest with you. Well, no one thought that you weren't being honest, right?
Exactly.
If you look at it that way. The other part of what he said that got to me is that he has nothing to say. Well, you clearly do. And, he would not take any questions. Once he finished what he
was
wanted
done.
to say to us,
He was done.
he shut the door.
Yep.
And you can see me trying to ask some questions. And again, when I bring up Billy, it seems to trigger people. And you'll hear that later in the other conversations. When I mention Billy, everyone tells me he's dead. I'm well aware he's dead.
We know that.
I'm not just fresh, looking at this case and haven't done my read. We all know he's dead. That's not the point. And once he finished what he wanted to say to us, he wouldn't take any questions. I mean, he was ready, slammed the door, have a good day, bye. And that was the end of it. And, looking back, the interaction didn't take more than 2 minutes. And to me, Judy's life is more than 2 minutes. And the fact that you even went to school with her, right? If you had nothing to do with this and you have no information, how come you just can't stand there and answer some basic questions?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, the rumor mill in every town, in every case, is always there. I'm sure he's heard something through the years, even if it's wrong.
And he's related to them.
Yeah,
This is whole circle.
That's true.
I mean, it's your son and your brother-in-law. And
it's also just super disrespectful to you guys and, Doug as law enforcement. It's like you pay your taxpayer dollars to fund this law enforcement agency who, if you need help, I guarantee you're going to be calling and asking for help. Yeah. But you basically kick him off your front porch when he's just trying to solve a murder.
He couldn't be bothered. As he said, he's divorced now from Kim and he's partying it up. And it was like, wow. Well,
Jen kind of nailed it a while ago when she said, you would think that this guy would have a little bit of sympathy. I don't remember how you put it, but, think about it. If it was your kid, thing about it is he lost a child, I mean,
that's true.
Have a little bit of courtesy what it's like to lose a child. Help these people out, don't just slam the door in somebody's face.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because I was going to bring it up with the next person we talked to, because again, that got brought up as, Mitch is dead and no one tried to help us. Right. So the next person we decided to go try to talk to was Kim Wright and Kansas Wright. So for reference, Kim Wright is Mitch's mom, but also Billy Schreckengau's sister. And Billy and Kim were pretty close. Billy lived with Kim at some point. Kim was responsible for Billy's kind of overall well-being, right? She would get groceries for him. She would make sure his bills are paid. She's kind of oversees like the mother hen of this whole Wright family. So who better than to talk to than Kim and Kansas? Kansas Wright is Mitch's sister, and then there would be Billy Schreckengau's niece. So we show up at Kansas' house, the address that we have. We had heard that Kim was living there after the divorce, but she might have moved into Billy's house. We're not quite sure, but she was living with Kansas at some point. And we're going to play that clip for you right now.
Toby, come here.
I'm working on the Safe Haven case with Judy Petty. And so we're looking into people who lived out there on Deer Walk Highway.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to speak to your mom or you about 2008 and if you guys remember anything from that period or if you knew the Pettys.
I never lived out there.
Okay. Your mom?
I lived on Progress Ridge. I don't know anything about who Judy Petty. I never even met her. Don't know who she is.
Yeah.
All I know is that I saw signs.
Yep.
Missing. I know she's been missing or whatever happened to her for a long time. But I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, she was found in her cellar, actually.
Yes, yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah. And so we're talking to everybody who lived right in that area because I know that Billy lived right there in the property and he knew the Pettys. So we're just talking to... I wanted to talk to Kim and see if she recalls anything, if Billy talked to her about anything she remembers or he saw it or knows anything. So I was hoping to talk to your mom. She's here.
She's definitely not here.
Oh, your mom's not here?
No.
Oh, I thought your daughter. Was that your daughter said she was?
I'm her mom. I'm my daughter's mom.
Right.
No,
I
my
asked
mom's
about
not
Kim.
here.
Oh, where's your mom at? Is she going to be back soon?
No. I don't know where she is.
Okay. Did she live out at Billy's house?
No.
Oh, okay. That was sold or rented out at Billy's.
I'm not really comfortable giving you all this information when it's irrelevant to your case. My family doesn't really have anything to do with that. So I'm not really comfortable giving you all that information.
Right.
You don't need to know who owns that house or who bought it or where it went.
Yeah.
My Uncle Bill's dead. He's been dead for years.
I know. And
So-
we actually stopped by and saw your dad.
Yeah. So we're done. We don't have anything else to say. Have a good day.
I think you do, though. I think you do.
So, wow. Alan, what was
Yeah.
your take? You were there.
Pretty blunt. I mean, there's no doubt that Kim was there. I mean, I think we all kind of figured that, but there's no sympathy, no sympathy for the family, no sympathy for
No compassion.
nothing. And that, I don't know. It just, that kind of stuff just drives me crazy. Why not help both these people are dead that we're asking about. It's not like we're, going to arrest anybody or anything like that. Let us know. The way I work an arson case or anything else is if somebody tells me something, what I'm doing is going out and trying to prove that they're innocent or that they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't come out there and say, well, I'm going straight into this and I'm finding something to put these people in prison. That's not what we do.
No.
You look at it as look for all the accidental causes, I guess you could say. And then if you don't find any of that, then you've got to start looking at what did. And what I took away from it, honestly, Melissa, from her and Bob, was the more you do what they're doing and push away and say, we're not doing this and we're not helping you and blah, blah, blah. I don't know what you're talking about. The more it makes you look guilty and the more it makes you look like you know more than what you're telling.
We're not putting words in their
Nope.
mouth. I mean, we're letting them we put it out what they said.
We didn't even have a chance to ask them a question. We're here we want to ask you about Billy or ask you about Mitch, and they start in. We don't know nothing. We didn't. What I want to know is what he had for lunch that day.
Right.
I mean, who knows what we're going to ask? But they,
So she contradicted herself because she said, referring to Judy, I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
But then she, in the next sentence, is talking about seeing the posters and the reward posters or whatever it is that are around town. And I'm like, okay, well, you may not know her personally, but you do know who she is because you just said you've seen the information on the posters. So you definitely know who she is and what happened.
Well, you'd have to be living
or that she was killed. Sorry, I'm not saying she knows exactly.
right. And for her not to know anything about the case, she'd have to have been living under a rock for the last 15 years.
Correct. Or especially the last 8 months.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Since we put this pressure on. But the other thing to notice, to know about this, so we walk up there and I go ahead and knock on the door and there's a young girl answers the door. And again, I don't know who's who, right? The family kind of all looks similar. So I asked, is Kim or Kansas here? And they said, yes, as you heard. And then it took a long time. It took a long time for someone else to come to the door. Someone else came to the door. I didn't know if it was Kim or Kansas, but it wasn't. It was somebody else. And then finally, Kansas comes to the door. She confirms she's Kansas. And she doesn't open up the door at first. She's talking through the screen door. And I'm like, can you hear me? And then as you heard, I introduced myself. And the thing that gets me about Kansas, very defensive, very rude, just right off the bat. But what I found interesting is when she said, especially when I mentioned about Billy, it's all irrelevant to your case and my family. And we talked about this. How do you know it's irrelevant? You don't know, supposedly, right? You don't know Judy. You know she's missing, but you're already determining that this is irrelevant to you and your family. How do you even know that it's
we'll make that determination. Thank you.
Right.
Or Doug.
Right. But it's interesting that you're already saying it's irrelevant, but you don't supposedly know Judy or anything about it. So
yeah.
And that goes back to not knowing what we're going to ask. Billy lived next door to the thing. We could have been asking, did he ever say anything to you about knowing or seeing anything that night? Or, they don't know what we were going to ask, when they were just automatically turning it off.
Right. And I did ask that as I'm trying to talk to Kim. I'm not so interested in Kansas. I want to talk to Kim, given that Kim and Billy were super close. Kim and Billy, they lived out there. So I want to get to Kim. And Kansas is blocking it 100%. And when I asked if her mom's there, definitely no. Okay. I call BS. And then when I'm like, well, when she'll be back? I don't know. Or will she be back soon? No. Like, okay.
How do you know?
Just so rude. And then Of course, right when I start talking about Billy and the property and all of that, we have nothing left to say. Slams the door. Goodbye.
And I'm sure Kim was there because you asked if she was there, which is a yes/no question. Like, this is where my language analysis nerdy side comes in.
Yep.
All she had to say was like, no, she's not here. She blurts out, she's definitely not here. And it's like, you're way overselling that lie. There's no reason to say it that way.
Well, Jen, if you'll back up, whenever Melissa asked the daughter, the young girl, is Kim or Kansas here? Yeah, just a minute.
Yes.
So, I mean, if it would have been just Kansas there, she said, well, Kansas is here. But no, she didn't say anything. She said, yes.
True. And you guys had not mentioned Mitch or Billy, right? Before, like, publicly?
No.
Before you went to these two people's houses?
No.
So it's not like you put that other podcast episode out where you mentioned their names and all this, and they're super defensive about that. No. Like, they've never been named as suspects.
Nope.
So why are they being so defensive to you guys?
Right. And that was a purpose. We did that purposely, is because we didn't want to put this out there until we had the chance to get out there and actually talk to them and give them an opportunity to help us and answer some questions. And I didn't even mention Mitch's name to Kansas, and I mentioned Billy's, and again, it's that snap response like Bob gave. They shut down. As you can hear in the recording, I was very frustrated. And as we're leaving, and she's like, we don't know anything. And you can hear me get very aggressive. And I'm like, no, I think you do. I think you do. What are the odds that we show up? You have no idea we're looking into Judy Petty case or that there's any correlation. And this is the response that we get. Yeah. And as we were walking away, and I wish I didn't turn off the recorder, but the funny thing for the listeners is she left the adorable dog out there, and we loved the dog. The dog was adorable. She did not like that Doug was petting the dog. So during this whole thing, you can hear her in the interview call the dog over, like right away. Doug's petting the dog. And it was like a quick response on hers. But so she slams the door and leaves the dog outside. And as we're walking away, because I'm angry, I'm like, you've left your dog out here. And then I turned to Doug and I'm going to steal her dog. And he was like, in all of my years of drug enforcement and detective, I've never had anyone say they're going to steal their dog. Like, that is priceless. And laughing so hard. And he's like, wow, don't piss you off. And because I was so frustrated, like, how can you act this way? It was very frustrating, those two interactions. And
I want to say something.
Go ahead,
Jen.
I know that those two probably don't know you guys' backgrounds or much about the team or whatever, but Melissa, like, you got on an airplane, which you hate flying, but you've done it 4 times now since I've known you, all for casework. Out of your own pocket, you pay for your tickets, you guys paid for your hotel, Alan and his brother drove 12 hours or whatever it is, paid for their own gas, their meals, like, everything out of pocket. I guarantee it cost all of you at least probably $1,000 each. And then I can't totally blame Bob and Kansas on this aspect, but it's like, if they would have just talked with you for a few minutes and understood the level of effort that you guys go to and cost to try to bring justice to an innocent woman. I don't know. And then that's their response. It's just, it's infuriating. And anyways, the response indicates that they have their own suspicions about Billy. There's no other way to interpret that because he was never a named suspect. So
no, and that's a good point. I mean, that's a real good point that they, again, he was never named. He never was even questioned. He never was even brought up, and now 15, 16 years later, when we start looking into it, oh no, he didn't do it. I don't have nothing to say. He's dead. He's been dead. Leave him dead, so, it's just crazy. And
it is. And I think you're absolutely right, Jen, because I think that's part of my frustration on Saturday was, again, we do this because we're passionate about it. We love it. But this all comes out of our own pocket, and we all have families. We all have things. And, for me, the flying, which, I swear to God, I keep saying I'm never flying again. And now I have to take 2 flights to Parkersburg, which is an issue for me. But anyway, and that we do all this, and to get this kind of response, it boils my blood. It makes me even more pissed off. I was so irate. It's that kind of frustration, and I get so mad, and then it only fuels me more. And that's the thing they should know is, Bob and Kansas, you've just pissed the wrong person off, because I went back to my hotel room. Me, Doug, Alan, we all talked. We all debriefed, and kind of like, damn, right?
Well, we went back to Doug's office. I mean, we went back to Doug's office and talked about it, and we wrote stuff down on the board, and we were just sitting there blowing off steam, trying to get and looking at each other like, did this really just happen? I mean, did we really just?
Right.
And just I put a disclaimer out there for the listeners: we would never steal somebody's dog.
No, I know you wouldn't.
That was just.
I think we all have dogs, and we would hate for our dog to be stolen. Right. And we're trying to solve crimes, not commit them. So.
Well, here's the thing.
Melissa's totally joking.
I've got two. I've got two, and I don't need another one. So we're good.
Yeah, that too.
We should probably.
George needs another one. Though.
George.
If anyone has been listening to this podcast, they know we joke around and we get frustrated. And that was something I obviously said, but I can't guarantee I wouldn't. No, just kidding. So after that on Saturday, yes, we all debriefed. We all went back to the prosecuting attorney's office. We wrote things down, and that fuels me, and I'm sure the rest of the team, to the point where now you've really pissed me off, and I'm going to come harder at you because the fact that you just wouldn't answer questions and were so rude. And we had a meeting, and we will actually talk about this in a second, but we decided, what do we do now, right? We've given them an opportunity to answer questions, to speak, and they didn't. So we all decided that the next best thing would be to go talk to the Petties. And Doug, Jen, Alan, we all got on the phone and we all talked about, is this the right thing to do? So we went ahead and went over to the Petties, and we can play a few clips of that and their reaction. And we wanted to tell them, listen, as we've said on here, we cannot say that Billy or Mitch had anything to do with Judy's murder, but here's all the flags. Here's all the things that we have on Billy and we have on Mitch. And based on everything that we've gathered so far as the team in almost a year, we're looking really hard at Billy. We went to their houses. We gave his family an opportunity to speak. They didn't. And we just wanted to let you know where we're at. And their response, it brings me to tears. Mm-hmm. They were so appreciative that we came back, first of all, that we're working on this so hard that we haven't given up. And they have so much hope right now. And they know that we can't say it's either Billy, Mitch, or someone else, but everything that we've shared on the podcast and even some more things they now have. And that empowers them. This family are fighters. They will fight. And now that they have this, they're renewed. They're going out. They're helping as much as they can to help us. And Mrs. Petty, I was sitting next to her when we talked about all of these things, and she started to cry. And she said, why would anyone do this to Judy? She was so sweet and the nicest person. And it hurts to know that this is what happened or what possibly happened. And she told me that she cried herself to sleep. She cried and cried and cried to sleep. But at least she now has an idea of what we have so far.
And knows the case has been properly investigated.
Right. Alan, do you want to say what Mr. Petty said to you? Because I'll start bawling.
I know.
We were all standing there talking, and I don't know, the guys out there listening to this will appreciate what I'm fixing to say, but you can tell a lot by a person by their handshake. We were standing there talking, and like I said, me and him hit it off pretty good. And he turned to me and he grabbed my elbow with one hand and shook the same arm, shook my hand with his hand, and he said, now I can sleep. He said, I can sleep better now. And it meant a lot because, now they just said like for the last 15 years, they hadn't been able to sleep because, and not sleep well, put it that way. But it's like I told them, when we were sitting there talking, they said it really hurts to hear all this, but we needed it. And they're right. It hurts to hear that stuff, but now they can start the healing process that's taken them 15 years to get there because now they've got an idea and they can get through the mad and the sad and then back to the mad and, until they get to a point that they're at peace with it. And hopefully we can have a definitive answer and they can put it to bed, or we can put it to bed, and they can get by with what the best way they can. And it was pretty powerful. That whole evening that Melissa and I spent with the Pettys there, because all the sisters were there. One of their husbands was there. Mr. and Miss Petty were there, and they were all outside playing games on a picnic table, and it was just really neat, to get there and talk to them. And then I don't think there was a dry eye around. To you, Melissa, whenever all that was going on when we were talking to them, it was just really something.
Well, and then you guys called me and I started crying.
Yeah.
But it's emotional. It's emotional for everybody. Like they've suffered so horribly. And then the amount of effort that as investigators, you and we put into a case, like you become very bonded usually with the family and certain friends of the victim. And you almost feel like you knew the victim at this point. And it's emotional for you guys too. And that's okay. I mean, I think that's what helps drive your passion, to get to the answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can tell you, Jen, if you were there and Mr. Price said that, we'd be a wreck. We would drink a whole bottle of wine together.
I was crying last time when I was there with you guys with Mrs. Petty. She's just so sweet. And I'll chime in on one relevant topic about our team in general, but just so listeners understand, the families that we work for or that we do this for, they are not privy to a lot of the information that we collect behind the scenes. Obviously, they know the stuff that we publicize, like on podcasts and through articles or whatever, but a majority of the stuff that we do behind the scenes in private and secrecy, we don't tell the family. So they were not aware that Billy and Mitch's names were brought to you guys a while back, and all the work that you did to find other people that could maybe confirm. And so I just wanted to explain that process and why they were so...
Yeah, we've been digging on these two for quite a while.
Yeah, and they had no idea. And so that's, I think, obviously why it was so emotional for them, because you were finally able to fill them in on some of the background and stuff.
Yeah.
So...
Right. And it was, before we get to Sunday, it was really emotional. I found, you all know I struggle with this, for myself to be able to tell Mr. and Mrs. Petty just our theory, what we have so far, because as we've talked about, they're older, and I have a piece within myself that if, something should happen and Mr. and Mrs. Petty, are no longer here in, a year from now, that at least we had this moment and at least they have something to be hopeful for. And to me and we got to do it in person. And that was a really big thing for me.
Yeah, that was one of our biggest concerns, is we don't want to get, a week or two out and come up with some more items that spurn some red flags. We didn't want to tell them this over a Zoom meeting.
Of course.
It needed to be something face to face. And I think that's why we all ultimately come to the decision, let's go ahead and tell them this stuff. And I think it was an awesome thing for them. And I think that they, I know there's no thinking. I know they were appreciative because, they looked at us and, one of them's husband looked at me and said, or looked at us and said, there's no words that we can come up with to say thanks. It was, there's no words that we can give you other than thanks. And the listeners, people out there, when you get into this type of business, that means more to you than any dollar amount is a thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it really does. And I know in the fire service, that was always a great thing, is to have somebody come to you and say, thanks for this or thanks for that, or that's what it's all about. And we're trying to help them out.
So now we'll get to the fun part. So on Sunday, Alan and his brother had to head back. They had their scenic route to drive back.
We went a different route and made it home faster.
Yeah,
she did.
And so I, of course, as I mentioned, fired up from Saturday. So after we talked and we told the Pettys, we're like, okay, well, now we're going to put it on the podcast. We're going to let everybody know. We're going to put Mitch and Billy's name out there, and also Kansas and Bob Wright's recording. So I gave Kansas another opportunity for her to talk, but really her mom. I really, interested in talking to Kim. So I reached out to Kansas on Facebook Messenger and said, hey, just want to let you know the reason we stopped by was to give you an opportunity for you or your mom to, talk about Judy Petty, because Mitch and Billy's name were brought up as being responsible for Judy's murder. And her response was immediate of, they had nothing to do with it. who told you that? People are wrong. You know, my brother's dead. My uncle's dead. Oh, and her mom is in this really bad health and she doesn't need this kind of stress. And she just kind of went on and on. And I said, Billy actually told someone that Mitch killed Judy. And we're just after justice for Judy. And she, you know, that's not the truth. How dare you do this? What kind of people are you that would talk about people who are dead? They are innocent. You know, it was great because I was able to say, well, you are. So the fact that family are not willing to talk about Mitch or Billy and just answer basic questions that you don't even have an idea of what we're going to ask you, like Alan said, you're already clamming up. So you're the ones who could defend Mitch and Billy, but you're choosing to not even talk.
I know, they could alibi them, or maybe they could alibi them, you know. And if I thought she knew nothing about the case. So how does she know neither one of them had anything to do with the murder?
Good point.
Or am I misremembering? I don't think I am. I thought she said she didn't know anything about Judy or the case, but yet knows for sure that her two relatives weren't involved. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And then she accused me of slandering. Like, what kind of evidence do you have? Someone is saying Billy said that to them. They're lying. She went on. And I said, well, that is why I'm reaching out to you, right? I'm giving you an opportunity to help clear their name. And by cooperating, we can move on. And I said, listen, you're the only family, you and your dad, who have not cooperated with this investigation or with us in a year. Now, what does that say about you and your family? You're the only one.
I mean, yeah, you got Chris Cutright willing to take third or fourth polygraph, and I mean, talk to us for hours.
Right.
And he even knew he was the top suspect.
That's what I was fixing
I didn't
to
want to say suspect, but like
he was there.
He himself was like, I know people suspect me, and I hate it.
Of anybody, he was the first one that got looked at hard because he was the last person to see her alive, and he admitted that.
It's crazy to me that Kansas all of a sudden took this huge stance, right? And I'm giving her an opportunity to finally talk. And then, of course, she brings out, well, my brother's dead and nobody helped us. And I said, well, wouldn't that be great if you could help somebody else? I said, I know what happened to your brother. I saw his case file. Her brother overdosed. And she's like, well, now since you know the case file, you know he was a drug addict. And I was like, yeah, but I'm still asking you to get on the phone, get your mom on the phone and be able to have a conversation. And she then says, oh, this is even great. We are done talking. Don't come back to my house or my mom's or my dad's. This is harassment. Leave us alone. So a door knock and a Facebook Messenger is harassment?
She might want to look up the legal definition of that. So I'll just put that out there. Like harassment has to involve a threat of physical harm to the person. And obviously you've not threatened her in any form or fashion.
No, it was ludicrous. And then she says, you know, after that, I said, that's fine. We'll continue to push forward and we'll put their names out there and how your family has not cooperated. And she says, well, I called the police and they said you guys are full of shit. So take your slander and defamation of character elsewhere.
I'd like to know which police department she called or who she talked to. But that's weird because, you know, Doug was at the door with you. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And then Pat, the DA, right? He gave a quote for the recent article on your guys' work. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was after. I think she called Parkersburg PD, who would not know that they're working with us because we're working with the prosecuting attorney's office. We're working with Doug.
No, they do know. Chief Dean put Doug on the case.
Chief Dean does.
Yeah,
you're
they
right.
know. They know. I guarantee they know.
Yeah. So then when she said that, and I said... It was so funny. I mean, I have to talk about this because it was this back and forth. And I said, well, did you not see Doug? He was the one petting your dog. Did you not see his badge? And I said, well, let me show you a picture of him picking me up from the airport. And here's his phone number. And do you see his email address there? It says Wood County, PA. Go ahead and call Doug. Then it all turned around. Then she says, I have cooperated with you. I told you I knew nothing.
What? She knows nothing other than her two relatives did not do it.
That's
right.
Cooperation.
That's literally impossible.
That's cooperation.
And it's irrelevant, but she doesn't know anything. But she's cooperated.
It's irrelevant to your case, but we're looking at your uncle and your nephew or your brother.
Yeah.
Right. And she just wouldn't talk. So I kept going back to her, like, I want to talk to your mom. I want to talk to Kim.
Yeah.
Because, again, I don't think Kansas may or may not. But her mom, Kim, definitely does. And so I said, will your mom not get on the phone? And she kept saying, my mom knows nothing. She's in bad health. Get this. She's starting with some dementia. She's medically fragile. Listeners are going to love this. Kim was actually on WTAP talking about how great she got this new air conditioner. I mentioned that to her after she says that because I'm thinking, okay, so what you're telling me is your mom is so sick, has so much stress, has starting to get some dementia, but she's willing to go on the news on WTAP a week prior and talk about air conditioning, but yet she won't get on the phone with me to talk about her brother and son's name being mentioned as possible suspects or persons of interest in Judy's murder. Does that make sense?
And you mentioned this the news interview was a week prior to us being there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. But she's so bad that she can't get on the phone. And then she said, well, I've been asking and questioning her, and she broke down crying about how much she misses them because they're gone. Okay, I can understand that. But why would you not just get on the phone and answer questions? The Pettys have answered questions and they're crying. They don't initially cry when you bring up Judy. They're able to talk to you. So your son who overdosed and your brother who killed himself, you're not able to just get on the phone and answer questions. You're so emotionally distraught. It could be I'm being a cynic.
Those are emotional events, but yeah, that's a little preposterous. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. You're sad, but at the same point, I mean, you're going to all of a sudden break down like that for just getting asked some questions.
Yeah, and I know you guys put out, these 2 short clips of these door knocks of these people, which again is totally legal, but you're not looking to do that with Kim. Like, I know if she'll talk to you, you guys aren't gonna record her or put anything out. You're not going to put her voice out there or whatever if she'll help you out. Chris, we have Chris's whole interview recorded. I could put the whole thing out on YouTube if I want. We don't, that's not what we do. Mm-mm. But when you force the team's hand and there's no other choice to get to the bottom of this, then this is how it has to go.
Well, and again, I mean, they don't know what we're going to ask.
Right.
They could come forward with information that would completely exonerate both of those two.
Yes.
And if they did, it might be something that would point us in the right direction.
Correct.
So it makes absolutely no sense for them to act like they act.
Like you said earlier, Alan, we don't get a name and then try to make everything fit that person's name, right? We actually try to clear them or alibi them or prove they were somewhere, because if we can, like you just said, if we can prove that they weren't involved, that's very, very helpful to the team because now we can cross them off the list and move on.
And it's interesting because, she's making claims, at this point that she hopes that they get answers, but it's not with her family. It's unfair to pin this on people who are unable to defend themselves. And again, that's what you're there for, right? That's what your mom, Kim, can do is get on the phone and answer some damn questions about it or just them in general.
Yeah.
Right. But you're choosing not to defend them. We're not saying they did it or didn't do it. We're saying, hey, here's this information. We would love to talk to you to either move them up, move them down. And the fact that you won't even consider getting on the phone is a big red flag for me.
Yeah. How do you want us to interpret that?
Yeah. And that moving up and down on the scale thing or the slide, the more they act like this, the more the higher up on the scale these people go as far as being guilty, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's just showing stuff to me that they're trying to either hide something or they just whatever. I mean, it gets me mad, but.
Well, it was fun. And what was so funny about this is you can imagine I'm getting ready to go fly away. Right. And I'm in the front yard. And again, the Pettys have this big birthday and they have so much family. I mean, I can't believe all the family they have. And so everyone's in and out getting ready for this birthday party. And me and Kansas are going back and forth on this. And I'm outside like boxing, like I'm ready, moving around. And they're like, look at her go, And Doug calls me and he's like, hey, are you going to, get back to the airport okay? Do you need me to come get you? And I said, Doug, I'm making friends before I leave. You might get a contact from Kansas who thinks that, we're full of shit. And, going back to what we were just saying, if they would have talked, we would never air this out. If you really had nothing to do with it, why wouldn't you want to clear it? Am I wrong?
Exactly. That's how most people respond. Yeah. I know my person didn't do this and this is why I know that. Obviously what you got.
No, except for the fact like somebody didn't like shooting deer was the reason she gave me. So.
Okay. I don't know how that relates to Judy's murder, but interesting.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, so what's next is I've gotten some messages from people who've listened to the podcast. We're really with the news article and the newspaper. Thank you to the Sentinel again, to Jess Mancini, who again has been amazing in getting the story of Judy out and following the case. We have gained more listeners, more people on the Facebook, and people are reaching out to me saying, hey, I have information. And so we are following those leads and talking to people, and it's opened up doors and the dominoes are falling. And so if Kim, if Bob, if any of the Wrights are listening to this, you know how to reach us. We're open to talking. Give us a call. It's just a phone call, and we would love to talk to you and clear this up.
Completely
but we're not going to stop.
No.
We're not stopping.
That's true.
You guys are doing great things.
We are. We're taking names. You know, what's the analogy?
Yeah, what's the phrase?
Yeah.
Kicking ass and taking names.
Yep.
Yes, but we're also like,
one that some of them around here use is we're here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and we're all out of bubble gum.
I love it.
No, what did you say to Alan the other day about the rumor mill?
Oh,
The hill and holler.
The hill and holler fax machine is working hard and steady up there right now.
And we love it.
And I can say that because I'm from Hill and Holler, so I know what's going on. So if anybody gets mad at me for saying that, I'm a hillbilly from way back. So ask George; he'll tell you.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Well, we want to thank everyone for listening again, but like we said, we're not done investigating. If anything, we are full force ahead. We will continue to provide updates as we learn more, which I anticipate will be the case. So continue to reach out to us. You can stay anonymous. Again, there is a reward if, it brings us to a resolution of who killed Judy. But again, people are reaching out and they're staying anonymous, and that's absolutely fine with us. We're not going to out you. We're just looking for people to help us. That's it. So, all right. Anything else?
I just want people to know that, like we said earlier, we're not stopping, and we're coming. If you know something, like Melissa said, let us know, because you don't want to go down with this ship. Come forward. Let us know what's going on. And again, if you've got information that will exonerate either one of these two, let us have it. I mean, please let us have it.
We don't want to waste resources looking in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
We'll leave with that, but it was great getting on with you both again tonight, and I'm excited to see what this episode brings us.
Yeah, thanks for including me in the discussion.
You bet.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, you have a good night.
All right.
See you guys.
Soon.
Bye.
Bye.